Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have Brittany Grey-Yadav on the show. She is founder of Visible. It's a content marketing agency helping entrepreneurs and startups become more visible in search engines. She's also founder of Influence Hers, which is, I'm going to read this so I don't make any mistakes, a platform celebrating women of color, influencing positive change and creating opportunities to do so around the world. She is also a mindfulness coach. And basically, I need to hire you for so many things. Welcome
Love
to the
that.
show. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank
coming.
you so much for having me.
Okay, sorry. I'm just going to turn this to silent so I don't. Okay, there we go. All right. So today, you are obviously a woman of purpose and business, but we're not going to talk too much about that. We're going to talk instead about your marriage.
Fun.
You ready?
Yes.
Does your husband know that you're here?
He does.
Okay.
Yeah. He knows. He knows. And yeah, we're a team. So yeah, he's supportive of everything I do. So.
That's good. It seems like it because I saw that he'll jump into like TikToks and reels with you. Like that is a supportive husband when I see that.
Yes, but I would like to emphasize, like, I do not force him to like jump in these because I have like, so my friends all know that my husband's like a really, I won't say a serious businessman, but he's always working. Everybody knows it. AJ is always on a call or like just doing something. So like our last reel, they're like, oh, it's so like my cousin, the people that know him like very intimately. They're like, yeah. So I see that AJ helped you out with the video. He got in. I'm sure he went right back to work after that. I'm like, no, actually, he wanted to be in this video, and then when he realized that it wasn't about him, he walked away. So everybody thought that was like hilarious that like he just walked away, but they thought the people that know him thought he
Yeah.
was just walking away because he had something to do. But I'm like, no, this just wasn't about him, so he wasn't interested.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of Instagram snooping. This is how I'm formulating my questions today. And you two have been together for a long time, over 10 years.
Yeah, a long
That's
time.
amazing. So you must have met pretty young then.
Yeah, we met when we were 23.
Okay, 20.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we're both 34 now, so 11 years later.
Oh my gosh, how did you meet?
So we met online on the dating app.
Which one?
OkCupid. Old school.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Old
Old
school.
school. Yeah. So it was like my first time like using a dating app ever. And my last time I met him and I was like, okay, one and done.
Oh
Pretty
my
good
gosh, that's
odds.
really lucky.
Yeah. I think we both got really lucky because I mean that back then that was 2011. So, it wasn't like a big thing. I just had a friend that was like, "Hey, I tried it out and I've been on a few dates with some guys. They haven't been bad." And I was like, I'm in New York City. It's hard enough dating out here, so why not try it out?" And so I met him and we just became really good friends and it kind of just like blossomed organically.
Okay, so you started off, it was friends at first? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, we went on a date, but I wouldn't say it was like this intense romantic, like uncontrollable, like attraction. And it was just like, yeah, let's go on a date. I really enjoyed talking to him. He's very interesting. I mean, I think that our values align and things like that. So let's just like go out and have some fun. And, that's what we did. But yeah, I guess there was a little bit of, interest in like the romantic thing, but that wasn't so intense in the beginning. It was just like, let's see what happens.
Got it. So at 23, were you thinking about values matching and things like that? Or is it now looking back, you're like, okay, this is why I liked hanging out with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think so. Yeah. And I think like maybe it wasn't so conscious, but unconsciously, I definitely thought, okay, this is somebody who I connect to, and the things that he talks about, like as far as like his family and, his work and his dreams, those are things that align with things that I'm really interested in and, that are really important to me. So yeah, it might have been kind of surface level things at the time, but it's still, yeah, I was thinking about those things, I would say for sure.
Okay, he works in tech, right?
Yes.
Were you both working in tech back then?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Complete
no.
opposite. Yeah. So I was actually working in the music industry. I originally was working at an entertainment law firm and I was like interning and so I was like kind of doing the double thing, like, cocktail waitressing and interning because I thought that's really what I wanted to do, either go into entertainment law or be like a music manager, something like that, because that's what my degree was in, music business and public relations. So that's what I was doing. So yeah, complete opposite worlds. But I think that was also kind of intriguing, like totally different than, what I was familiar with, his work and his career. So I think that was like kind of not necessarily opposites attracting, but there was something that I could learn from him. And I thought that was really like, exciting and intriguing.
Yes. Did you find it refreshing at all? Like, were a lot of people you hung out with in the entertainment industry? So,
Yeah.
in some sense, do you find it refreshing when it's not that? Because I feel that sometimes, I mean, living in LA, there's a lot of creative people, which is very inspiring. But sometimes my family's from the Bay Area, they live in Silicon Valley, but I'm like, this is really cool what people do up here. It's so
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
It's different. I mean, for me, definitely, I think I love like just to learn from people, I think. So hanging out with different types of people who had different, interests and careers, I love it. I'm not like one of those people just only hangs out with a certain type of people. I've never been that way, actually. So, yeah.
This is true because you've traveled a lot by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Going to South America, Southeast Asia. How many years did you spend traveling by yourself?
So a year. I took a year away from work and I did like a solo year travel. And yeah, I visited like 15 countries in that year and it was an amazing time. I'm so glad that I did it.
That's amazing. Did anything prompt that?
Yeah, I think that I was kind of like in this weird place that so many of us go through in our 20s of like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm not happy with my career. At that time, I had kind of transitioned out of like the music industry. I was working on a music magazine and that kind of like led me into like digital marketing and advertising. So I started working at an advertising agency. And for the first year, it was really exciting. Again, learning something new. But then I think like the whole corporate world, I guess, would you consider advertising agency corporate? Kind of. We worked for a large corporation. So yeah, you kind of just felt like a number. I didn't feel really valued and I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing. So I was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but I do know that I'm really interested in travel, Instagram and everything. I think like before I never thought that it was just like something that I could just do by myself and that was going to be safe and, all that. But I think that just looking at Instagram, it inspired me so much seeing other women go out there. I'm like, hey, like these places are safe. They're not like, all the things that you hear from people. Like,
Totally.
you go overseas, you go to this country and you got to be careful and they do this to women, they do that. Totally untrue when I actually went out there and experienced it for myself.
Yes.
But definitely like social media played a part in me being inspired and feeling actually, the courage to go out there and do it myself.
Was this before you met AJ or after?
No, this was during.
During. So
Yeah.
you had started dating already.
Yeah. So this was when I was 27. So at that point, we'd been dating for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was like 2015 when I went on the trip. We technically kind of like took a little break.
Okay.
An unofficial break, I think. And, that was one of the big learning things for us is that like when I took that year, I just really had to. We were both in, I think, a time trying to figure out and really kind of focused on ourselves. And, he was like, building the startup and he was consumed with that. And that's what he was passionate about. I didn't really know what I was passionate about or what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to just sit around and twiddle my thumbs and just to be like somebody's like, girlfriend. And I just had to make a decision. I'm like, this is something I really want to do. I don't think I'm ever going to get the chance to do it again because marriage will come eventually and hopefully kids. It hasn't come yet, but I'm, hoping. I just know those things were coming down and, in the future. So I was like, it's either now or never. So yeah, I told him, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I don't think he believed me at first. He actually said he didn't believe I was going to do it. And then when I finally did, it was like, oh, wow, like you're really going. But, the thing is, like, I definitely like looked at it as a solo thing, but I was like, well, I would like you to be able to come, visit and experience some of this as well. But the truth is we were just at two different places in our lives. And it's hard because, you're with somebody. So you're like, what do you do? So, yeah, I went to travel by myself. And
I think that it should be normalized that you feel like you need to take a break, or there's this expectations like, oh, if you don't want to do everything together, like there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But that's life. You're dealing with two individuals, and especially if you value growth and things like that, it's not going to be aligned all the time, and that's okay. Did you feel safe? Like, did you have a feeling that you and him would get back together?
So the thing is, we never technically officially broke up. It was kind of just one of those things like, okay, well, I'm going here. So technically we're not together, which I will say, like in hindsight, it was one of the things where we definitely should have kind of established like the boundaries and kind of like the whatever it was going to be. And I don't think we did that. It was just kind of like, we're apart. You're doing this. You're in your career. But I did I didn't feel like we were completely like splitting up for sure. You know, it was like still so much connection and everything there. And like I said, he would come visit. But it was difficult, you know? So I think that just looking back, it was one of those things where like, yeah, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I just was hoping for the best.
Yes. Like all of us, right?
You know, and I think we have to take those chances, especially in like, you know, your 20s, like just realizing like you're growing and you're, you know, expanding and evolving. And I think I see so many people that have so many regrets. Like, I wish I would have did this in my 20s. I wish I would have did that. I don't have any regrets. I did everything that I felt like I needed to do. And I definitely suffered maybe like some, I guess, let me not say repercussions. I feel like that's such a strong word, but I do feel like there were things that I had to deal with in coming back after I made that decision for myself that I said, don't regret. I had to, you know, face some of those like, okay, well, you made this decision to leave. So now you're back and you have to deal with things that happened while you were gone, you know?
And how were you two communicating about those things?
During the time
and after, yeah.
During the time, I don't think we communicated really at all much. I think we were kind of just very naive that we were just separated, but we were still totally like, I guess like everything was still the same with the relationship. But the truth is things had changed and we were both evolving. Yeah. And we were both evolving like as individuals. We just really didn't know. But I think that we tried to communicate as things were happening, but it was just difficult. So I think when we came back, that's when most of the communication happened and really having a lot of hard conversations of like, okay, well, this is what I want and this is how I've changed or, you know, things that have happened, you know, while you're away, can we get through these things?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in a long-term relationship that is required because things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
And forgiveness. I saw you did a post of like, you know, things you've learned being in a long-term relationship. Forgiveness is absolutely necessary. It's something I've had to learn because I tend to hold on to things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah.
But that's a part of it.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, I think that's like a pillar. It has to be a pillar of your relationship, forgiveness, and really just having the awareness that so many things within you as an individual, they have to be healed on an individual level for you to be the partner that you're supposed to be to somebody.
Absolutely. You know? How is he with personal growth? Is he into it?
He's totally into it now. I mean, definitely I'm more into it. I'm the one who wakes up every morning and does my meditation and I read, and I actually love my alone time. I consider myself like introverted, extrovert, like, you know, but I love my alone time. So I wake up in the morning usually before he does, and I make sure that like, you know, I focus on just doing these things that like fill me up. And so I think he has a different type of like self-growth. I mean, he definitely loves to read, but he's not like me where he's going to sit down and probably read. There was a time when he would do that, but I think that he realized like, well, this is not necessarily as natural to me as it is to you. So he likes audiobooks. He'll listen to audiobooks and things like that. And I think that he's a really good listener now. So he will listen to, because he's opened up and he has a level of awareness now to where he can connect with me on certain concepts and ideas and understandings. Particularly one key thing in our relationship that we really had to look into is like childhood traumas and heal from those things. That has just like deepened our relationship so much to just understand like how those have influenced our unconscious actions in our relationships and the need to like get over those to become stronger as a couple. So just having that level of awareness, you know, and that alignment makes it much easier for him to like for me to talk to him and him actually be interested and ask questions and learn from me. So maybe I'm like, yeah, like the teacher, but I'm totally fine with that, you know, if I'm a good student.
Yeah, you inspire him in this way.
Yeah, I guess so.
I love that. Well, how would you, because some women, actually this was me as well, like when I was diving into personal growth and I was dating, I was like, the guy has to be into personal growth already, you know, and at first I was like, it's a must. But then I realized, no, he just has to be open to it because no one has everything figured out yet. As long as he's open to it, I was okay with that. And that's Pete. He wasn't going to Tony Robbins seminars already and all those things.
We went to those before together, me and him. And let me tell you, he was in the crowd even more. Like, he was so excited. I had to look up and I was like, wow, you're really enjoying this, right?
The dance breaks.
I mean, he had the best time. So that was cool to see. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's really lovely to see when they are open to it and have a curiosity for, and I think just the willingness to take responsibility for themselves, right?
For
is
sure.
huge.
Yeah. I think that's like one of the biggest things for sure. That actual responsibility and that understanding and awareness that they say, okay, like I need to change for me.
Yeah.
I need to be better for me.
Yes.
Not necessarily because Christine or Brittany wants me to, but for me, because I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better partner, husband, father, whatever it is. That's really like what you want to look for in a partner, that they have that desire. And they're taking some steps because, like talk with no action is like, it's like, pointless. It's futile. Yeah. So I think that, that's the biggest thing is that desire. And
Okay. And your husband is Indian.
Yeah.
Culturally, was there a learning curve there? Like, did you grow up with similar family dynamics?
Yeah, so no, we didn't. Definitely culturally, like totally different. But, that's one thing that I realized too. Like, I mean, I've always been very interested in learning different cultures. So it was maybe just natural. And I was able to just connect with him because I had that interest and that, just like that, I guess that curiosity. Was always in me. I don't really know where it came from because I grew up in Detroit by way of like Tennessee. So not very diverse in those places. It's like either you get this or you get that. But I just always had something in me, that was curious. And so, I think it was the same with both of us. He came here when he was 17. Okay. So he was super young. And I mean, it was total culture shock for him. He knew English, but he didn't even really speak it well. He tells this funny story, like when he was in college, he didn't speak English well. So he ordered like the same sandwich like every day because it's what he could say the best. For him, I think that we both just have this openness just to like explore and just put ourselves out there.
Oh, I love that. Well, I saw you had multiple weddings and one was in Delhi.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And your dad flew out to that one and it was his first time traveling international, which I thought was so sweet because that's a big step for someone to do, travel internationally themselves later on in life.
Yeah.
Out of all countries being international, like India is like, it's not the easiest place to
my
travel.
God. Like, that's like the biggest joke in the family. It's like, okay, this was the first international trip that he went on. This was like the biggest, like, shock.
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, he loved it too. And so maybe, like unconsciously, I didn't realize like, so my dad, he has this openness too. Like he's not as exposed to so many things, but he's open. We had the best time. I mean, he would walk by and, you think that some people would be like shocked or like be judgy or whatever. My dad was just like, oh wow, so those people, they just live right there. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, that's, or whatever, just he had a curiosity, which I love, but like not a judgmentalness or whatever. So like he loved it. He totally like took in everything. And I was really grateful to like see him there. And I think that's the thing too, just seeing your parents light up and that childlike thing, igniting them. That was so like fulfilling for me.
So sweet. Were you close with your dad growing up?
Yeah. I was close. I am close with my dad. So like he raised me like throughout high school. So I just lived with him and then his wife. My parents both got remarried. Okay. Very close with my dad.
Do you think that had an impact on who you would date and who you ended up choosing?
Totally.
Yeah. Are they similar?
They're very similar. But then they're very different in ways. And that's what I've realized. Like, so there are definitely, I think, these unconscious things that like attract you to your partner. Yeah. Definitely it's that familiarity that you have. Like, okay, like there are things that reminds me of my dad, but there are also certain things that you're like, I want actually something maybe different.
Absolutely. That's nice that you had the awareness of that. Did you realize that after? After. Okay.
Yeah, totally. A lot of reading, a lot of exploring, and yes.
I think we grew up quite similarly because my parents, they split as well, and I chose to live with my dad throughout high school as well. And I didn't realize what a big impact that had on me and like who I am.
Yeah.
Because of that. Same exact thing. There was Like I wanted someone like kind of like my dad, but not completely. There
Yeah.
was that, you know, like kind of like him. This feels really
Yeah.
great, but then
Yeah,
there's
and
different
for me, it was
components.
very unconscious. I didn't realize I was like kind of unconsciously seeking this sense of like maybe safety and security that I didn't have maybe earlier in my life. Not necessarily like when I lived with my dad, but earlier in life, you know, my parents had issues and kind of like some battles with substance abuse and things like that. So I think that as a child, there are many times that, which after now I've done the work, I'm like, you know, that was what an unconscious need that I probably perpetuated, you know, or unconsciously sought after in a partner is like, make me feel safe, make me feel secure. And, you know, when really it's like I had to do that work to make myself, you know, feel safe and secure. Like the partner as well. I think there's certain things that they can do, like as far as like being emotionally like, you know, available and just like understand empathetic to make you feel safe. But definitely the work had to come from me, like primarily.
With the culture difference, what are some things that you had to learn to adjust to? Because with Indian families, I guess similar to Chinese families, like they could be very compared to Western culture, like maybe overbearing, like everything is like about the group and the parents are very involved and
Yeah.
they're right, right? Was there
Yeah.
any adjustment there?
Yeah. So, you know, I always tell people, and I mean, obviously, yeah, it is an intercultural relationship. So I always like, I used to get the question a lot of like, oh, wow, like, so his parents accepted you? And I'm like, you know what? Funny enough, they did. I'm like, I never had that issue. So
That's
that
good.
like the time that he introduced me to his parents, they were very warm and welcoming to me.
Good.
And I just always had a great experience. And I think that there probably was some type, a level of like respect and appreciation for the fact that I was the person there, that they knew he had someone in the States
Okay.
in their absence that was kind of looking out and was like, you know, there for him. So I think that that probably trumped everything that probably could have been considered, or maybe like, you know, something that, you know, like other people might deal with. I don't know. That trumped everything else. And so, yeah, from the, you know, very beginning, I had a great relationship with his parents. Obviously, not obviously, let me see, because like most of India, like so many like speak English. It is like the second, so many languages in India. I don't even know. But anyway, so most people speak English, you know, but his parents don't. So that was definitely a little bit of difficult, but it's so interesting to see how like spirit just connects to spirit, and it just outweighs like, you know, any of the barriers that you know might have, like language barriers or anything else. So like the times that I go to India, like me and his mom, we can't necessarily have a full conversation, but we feel the love, you know. And I speak a little bit of Hindi, I can say some things, and you know, so I can ask, and or either I'll get his sister to translate or something like that. But you know, you just feel the love. And so yeah, I think that as far as like cultural barriers, that like the language was obviously something. And then they do have a very, yeah, tight knit, close and family. So that was something I had to like get used to.
Right. No, no personal space.
No personal space. No personal space. So yeah, like they come to visit us, and when I go there, it's all like unit group thing, and
Yes.
you know. So I think that I appreciate that because I didn't really have that growing up.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that yeah, I definitely love that, but I also know that because it's not as natural to me, sometimes I can get overwhelmed. And so I just know that, you know, I just have to like sometimes separate myself, or go like take a walk on my own, or, you know, go to a separate room, do my meditation, recenter, and just be like, okay, now I have filled myself up. Now I can give to everybody else and be in this group setting and not feel so like drained of my energy.
Yes, especially if you're an introvert.
Yeah.
I that's me. Like I've been to India a couple times, and yeah, it was an adjustment, and I didn't want to come off as rude, but I just really, I was not used to it, you know, because in the States everything's so like individual. People respect, like I'm gonna go in the other room
Yeah.
and nap, you know, and that's not considered rude. But even with like Chinese culture, like traveling with my family in a group, when it's like all the uncles and cousins. And one time we went to Vietnam, and I remember feeling like I would just want to take a break, you know, can I
Yeah.
not go? And my dad's like, don't do that. Like that's considered rude. 'Cause she's like, you're
Yeah.
here with the group. We're all going here. And I was just like, oh, I noticed that about myself, that it was coming up. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not used to this. But
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. They're really like about community. Like in the end, it's like who was there for you. They do everything together.
Oh, yeah.
It's so lovely
Yeah.
and meaningful. I just, I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say like it's just funny, yeah, like that. So that was probably one of those things that unconsciously really attracted and connected me to him, was the fact that like because he comes from this very giving culture and family, and like so selfless to a
Yes.
fault sometime,
Yeah.
like that was something that was totally opposite of what I was used to. So that was very just like endearing to me, and it was like probably one of the reasons I fell in love with him. He just like always supported me and like my changing of like careers, and like, oh, I want to go study law school. Okay, let's figure it out, let's do that. And it was just always like very much so trying to like be there and be supportive. So I really love that. So yeah, it's a balance now. I just appreciate both sides.
Were you always very confident with dating?
Ooh, no.
Like, can we talk a little bit about before you met your husband? Because I mean, talking to you now, you're a confident person. Did you have any patterns dating?
Yeah, ooh, good question. Yeah, it's so crazy because I think like I've been with him so long. I literally have to like draw my mind way back really
Like
far.
early 20s.
Early 20s. Yeah, yeah.
When we're like clubbing and stuff, right? It's like a different chapter.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. I feel like I've always been kind of like I had like two serious relationships. Like I had one in high school. We were together like 2 years before I went to college. And then I went to college and got another relationship for 2 years. And, then I had like a period from my time graduating college to like moving to New York where, yeah, I dated, but I really was just like having fun. I wasn't thinking like I need to find my next husband or anything.
Okay.
So I will say that as far as my patterns, yeah, I guess like, it's funny now because I feel like, you hear people say like, especially when they've been married a long time, you date like different, like the same person, and they like different versions of that person. So that's how I feel like now.
Okay.
Maybe. So like maybe instead of like having those patterns in other relationships, I've had those patterns dating my husband throughout our 11 years. Probably in the beginning, I was just like very just like needy. That was more of the connection of like, okay, validate me, make me feel like I'm important because I never felt important before, or like, or I'm not confident in myself. So I need you speaking life into me all the time. And it wasn't always there because it's like he's an individual and he's got his own things. And, I needed to figure that out on my own. Most of my growth and learning has just come like in my 11 years, like just being with my husband.
Yeah, I mean, from early 20s to 30, you change a lot, as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then 30 to 40, it never stops, but I just, at least for myself, 20 to 30, I'm like completely different person.
Yeah.
That's huge learning. And it's amazing that you're able to do that also, like in relationship. Well, it seems like your husband's always like given you freedom and space to do you. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. He has actually. I will say that. He's given me the space to do me, and he's done him. So I give him that space too. And I think maybe that's what it was, like from the very beginning of like, we didn't try so hard to push our own agendas on people. Maybe it was an unconscious push, but we were never so vocal about it of like, well, I don't want you talking to other girls, or I don't want you like going on, like, what are you doing, X, Y, and Z. We were very open with each other, and just had that trust. And then I think that things happened in our relationship to where we had to revisit that to be like, okay, should we have set some boundaries?
Okay.
A few more boundaries, and I think that's just a part of the learning though, like, so it's like either you're going to do it with multiple people or you're going to do it with the same person.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's forever changing. And I love talking to my friends who have been married like a really long time. And she's like, your boundaries just keep changing. Your values will change as well. And so how do you communicate? Because the thing is, obviously you guys have really strong communication because especially if you both like growth, I feel like if you don't communicate it, sometimes you can start growing apart and it's hard to come back. So it's kind of important to communicate as you're growing so you could do it more together and check in.
Yeah. I think that's where we're at now in our relationship. So I think that we had a point to where, the communication was just like non-existent. It was really bad, So it's like the beginning of a relationship, your early 20s, you're good, everything's fine. We're just like, let's just live and let live, like we're just having fun and enjoying each other. And then things, in the middle, they start like kind of getting a little bit more complicated after you hit that 3-year mark, 4-year mark or whatever. It's like, okay, like what am I doing? And then it also becomes you start becoming a little disconnected because you're changing and your way of communicating and the things that you need to make you feel secure in yourself or in your relationship are changing, but you're not communicating those things because you just probably don't know how. So I think that, so yeah, that's kind of what, like the phase that we went in our relationship was that the communication was just like non-existent. And that's when I went to travel.
Ah, I see.
That's when, like, we started kind of like drifting apart.
Okay.
And I think that coming back, that's when we were forced to just like really look really deeply and confront some of the, those issues of like, okay, we just totally were disconnected, not communicating. We were on two totally different pages, of what we wanted in life. So now, are we going to bring this back? Can we bring this back? Ultimately, we did with a lot of hard work. So we didn't necessarily go to therapy, but we read an amazing book, a therapeutic book that I recommend for all couples. And it's called How to Get the Love You Want by Harville. Ooh, I forgot, but he wrote it with his wife.
Okay.
I can't
I
remember his
haven't
name.
read that one.
Oh,
I'll
it's
need to read.
amazing.
Okay.
It's an amazing book. It was like a therapeutic book, like I said. So like in the replacement of like I guess couples therapy we would have maybe went to, we read this book together and it like kind of transformed our relationship and it helped us do some really, really deep healing individually and as a couple.
I think travel's healing on its own, right?
Yeah.
Did you do anything else for healing?
I mean, getting into meditation definitely has been healing for me because that's just kind of helped me to become more conscious of patterns, unhealthy patterns, negative, thoughts and emotions that have really just kind of like influenced how I interact or whatever. And I think so meditation has helped. While I was traveling, I did like a 10-day meditation retreat in Myanmar, Vipassana meditation. And so that was definitely like a transformative, really deep experience for me. So I still do it to this day. I love Vipassana meditation. So that was very healing. But before that, I mean, I just really got into just like I hate when people say self-help books because I think of them as spiritual books that really connect you to your spirit, which I feel like is the source of all transformation. So that's transformation and healing. So really just being able to look at myself deeply and at these unconscious patterns that, may not have necessarily come from me, but may have just been passed on generationally or a product of my childhood trauma and things like that. That's really what's been healing for me, being able to look at myself, being able to establish that a level of awareness in myself really gave me kind of the tools that I needed to connect with my parents and forgive them. I don't think there was any yeah, I never wrote any letters or anything like that. Yeah, but I think that it opened up a level of acceptance in me of them. You're not going to ever change anybody. So you either like love and accept them for who they are and keep them in your life, or you love and accept them and move away from them. So having that awareness, that really has been the most healing for me. And I just got it from books. I have so many books that I just like swear by. One of the most transformational was The New Earth by Eckhart
Oh,
Tolle.
yes. That was one of the first that started my personal growth journey that opened up everything.
Yeah, that's like my book. Stays on my dresser, always have a copy of that one.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, you're inspiring me to. I used to meditate. It's just that making it a habit, right? But I've been very mental these last few years, and I think I need to give myself space
Yeah.
to be, because like I know we always have the chatter, but I think there's a lot of resistance, and I need to connect to spirit. I did see a post where you said to put phones away. A phone can really like destroy a relationship. I feel like if two people are not conscious and you're just on it all the time,
Yeah.
what a difference it makes when we don't have them. Do you ever set intentional time where you guys put away devices?
I will say we don't set intentional times, but I think that we are both very aware, or like we kind of like wake ourselves up. We're like,
Okay.
we have that ability now. Like, so like yesterday, my husband, he's like, man, I just gotta log out. I gotta log out. I've been strolling in the stupid TikToks and Instagram for 30 minutes. I haven't been able to get anything done. So now we have like our own things that we do. Like, yeah,
Okay,
like
you'll check yourself.
we'll check ourselves. Yes. When we go out and things, I don't think, yeah, I don't think we have to set those in place as much, because I think that we're so much more connected and we actually enjoy each other's company now.
That's good.
We're not trying to escape each other through the phone.
That is the phone is a totally an escape. And the times in my life where I have felt very disconnected from people in general, I know I'll whip it out like at a party or something like that, because I feel like I'm not connecting.
Yeah.
And so it's just so easy to whip out. So I'm like, oh, put it like
Just connect with strangers on the internet.
Can't
connect with people right here.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so one last question. A lot of our listeners are independent women who would like to better their relationships or create the relationship of their dreams. What advice would you give to them?
I think my advice is just, you have to do the work yourself on yourself to attract what you want, what you deserve in your life. You have to do the work on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we get, all these messages that how our relationships are supposed to look, or a man is supposed to treat you, or you're supposed to act, like you got to check all these things off of a list, But really, when you get in deep alignment with what you want and who you are, I feel like you're going to attract those things. You're going to manifest them. And I think that if a person is not in alignment with those things, then your spirit's going to reject that person, because that's not who you are. But I think that, if you see like a pattern in your relationships, or like, whether or not, they're new relationships or old relationships, you also always have to go back inward to think like, what's my role in this?
Yeah.
It can't be everybody else. It can't be the men who are just like crappy and this and that.
This is very true. If there's any sort of pattern,
yeah,
it's you. It's probably you. Like, what are you doing or subconsciously doing?
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely don't think it's just like, to put the blame. I just think that everybody's responsible for their own healing. Yeah. And, the only way that you're going to know that a man is not healed is if you've done your own healing.
This is very true.
Because
you attract what you are, right?
Yeah, you attract it. And and that's what you want. I tell my friends, like, first of all, there usually are so many. Sorry if the like advice was supposed to be short.
No. This is really good advice, please.
With my friends, they're just like, there were like red flags in the beginning and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that was your spirit telling you this is not the person. So like, why did you keep it going?
Yeah.
What in you kept you so connected with this person that, that you couldn't be like, okay, like something's kind of like off. And that's okay. That's not you being difficult as a woman. But I do think that, staying aligned with the spirit things, not just like the surface level external things, like those are really important, because I think that a lot of times, like I said, we can have a checklist and they're very just like superficial things.
Oh, yeah.
But the most important is always like the level of consciousness, the work that man has done to heal. And it. Does he still have these mommy or daddy issues? Do you still have mommy or daddy issues?
Yeah.
And you can see, you can see those things. So I just think that, when you just can connect deeply within yourself, you can see that this partner is too deep in that, they're probably going to hinder your growth rather than help facilitate it. And that's always what you want. Somebody who has that capacity, like we talked earlier, like they have that desire and that awareness and that capacity to grow. And if you don't see that in the beginning, I think that's the biggest thing to know, because none of the superficial stuff is going to like matter. It's always like what's there. That's what's going to keep you together, or separate you really.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You gave so many great nuggets.
Thank you.
If people would like to reach out to you, where's the best place that they can do that?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me on my Instagram. It's just my name, Brittany Grey-Yadav. All my links are there for my, content marketing company, and also my nonprofit, Influence Hers. Me and AJ are going to be starting a YouTube channel soon, so excited about that.
Fun.
Yeah.
What is it going to be on?
It's going to be about our relationship, just us giving advice as entrepreneurs. We're both entrepreneurs, and just, our intercultural relationship and just our life. Like, I've realized, like, that's what people want to see. They just want to see you being you. So,
This is true.
you know,
This is true. They really, that's
I
what
want to
they
see you
want to
being
see.
you, you know, like, so like creating content and just trying to be this certain and build this certain brand and image. I just think like authenticity is just like the most important. So I had to remember that. I'm getting back to that. Just be like, yo, you're just going to get this me, like whatever version, makeup, no
Yeah.
makeup, hair, crazy, whatever.
Oh, and I also wanted to ask more about the influence hers because you did mention before we started recording that you also arrange trips all around the
Yeah.
world and like to Africa. I was like, I want to come. So
Yeah.
where are some locations that are upcoming that you plan to take
Yeah, so
women?
Kenya is like one of the main places. That's where I started when my journey started. When I did that solo trip, I ended up in Kenya, and it's just as like my second home now. They say like I'm Kenyan. I'm like, that's fine. But yeah, so Kenya we'll be doing in the beginning of March. Have some really exciting partnerships with some organizations there. So we'll be doing Kenya and also Tanzania and also Ghana probably towards the end of 2023. So they're service-based trips, and we really just focus on like creating these experiences for women who want to influence change and have a positive impact to connect with each other and also just connect with international, and we do local events too, but international communities, and just like make you contribute meaningfully, not just go as a tourist. But yeah, yeah, I would
You're
love that.
speaking
Yes,
to the right
yes, I would
person.
love if you join. So yeah, they're really open, and I mean, I just love these trips. Like, you know, when women come back, they're just like, oh my gosh, that was like the
It's
best
life changing,
Yeah, it's
right?
life changing. And you know, I think like sometimes people, I don't consider it volunteerism, but that can get a bad rep because they say, you know, these volunteer trips, they're, you know, really about they're about the people, they're not about the community. But for me, I think that that's just as important. You know, if you can go and you can have this amazing transformative experience and you can be so filled up that you want to come back and do more good in your job and your work and your community, and you know, you have that empowerment yourself, and that's just going to be beneficial for everybody around you and also for the communities that we're working with, because I'm very intentional about the partnerships that we make. I say, okay, how can we be of service? What's going to be the most helpful and most impactful while we're here? Because we're only here for a limited amount of time,
Yeah.
4 or 5 days, you know. The really important thing is making sure they're sustainable projects, you know. So it's like I support even when we're back here, and we fundraise and different events to build awareness for, you know, the projects and things like that. So yeah, I would love if you came, and anybody else out there that comes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I really, well, we'll talk more after this.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go.
Okay,
Thanks
awesome.
for coming on.
Thank you for having me.